What's going on? What's going on? What's going on out there, folks? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. As y'all know, as I always say, Mondays womp womp, but I look forward to our Monday night live shows and your girl. I'm I'm rolling solo dolo tonight. However, as they say, the show it must go on and trust. Y'all, there is a lot that we are going to get into tonight as far as what happened last week in St. Louis City whew, and St. Louis County. It's a lot. Okay, so we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it right now. So let's go. Because, like I said, y'all, it's a lot of juicy stuff. So first, because I know last week we kind of kicked it off by talking about stuff that was going on in the city. I like to kind of, switch it up every week. So we are gonna get into the St. Louis County highlights. Yes, highlights. So the first one that I'm gonna kind of get into is, and we talked about this bill. I believe it's bill number 73. I believe. But this bill, like I said, we done talked about this for weeks, and y'all, the county council finally approved this bill removing the requirement that businesses selling tobacco products have to be at least 1,000 feet from schools. Yes, y'all, they approved that bill removing that requirement. So this is how the vote went down. Council members Webb, Days, Hancock, and Harder, they were in favor of the bill, and council people Dunaway, Clancy, and Trachis were against the bill. So a 4-3 split. So I want to play a few clips regarding the council members, their thoughts and their reasoning as to why they voted the way that they did. So first, I want to play this clip. This is Councilwoman and Chair Webb. She's providing her 2 cents as to what this final passage means.
Bill number 73 is finally passed, and I want to take a moment and privilege as the chair to make sure that the audience understand there is plenty of opportunity to work on enforcement for tobacco sales, to work on communication between the county and municipalities to ensure that that is done decent and in order and the proper communication happens. So this isn't the last of how we can improve in the area of enforcement and also in the area of communication. This, by no way, shape, or form, is jeopardizing or compromising our youth. The county is not in the business of shutting down businesses, but we are in the business of holding businesses accountable. And that is the full spectrum of how we need to look at this legislation. So I look forward to working with Dr. Cunningham in the Health Department for enforcement and also with the Planning Department in communication with the municipalities.
So there you have it. And like I said, there were other council members that wanted to express how they felt about the final passage of the bill. So that was Councilwoman and Chair Webb. Now we're going to get into this next clip with Councilwoman Clancy and Councilman Trachis giving their 2 cents.
It's not just the youth I'm concerned about. As we heard in the evidence from Dr. Cunningham and her colleagues, and as I looked at my own evidence body related to this topic, it's also about the density of these businesses in vulnerable populations that are disproportionately impacted by heart disease. And there is a strong link to these businesses and what they're selling and those rates. So I'm not sure what's motivating this, but I think it's a step backwards for the direction we've gone in public health for this county for the past couple of years. And as Councilman Trachis shared, we did work hard a couple of years ago. We had a big signing in Councilman Trachis's district, and I was proud to work together across county lines on that across partisan lines on that important public health measure. So I'm disappointed tonight and wanted the record to reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Clancy.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Councilman Trachis.
I need to get this off my chest. This represents greed and avarice, plain and simple. And I'm pointing my finger at the petroleum industry. I'm pointing my finger at gas station owners who all they care about is maximizing their profit when they sell their business. That's what this is about. Let's not pretend it's about anything else. And I'm sick and tired of the way moneyed interests run the show around here. So I got it off my chest. Thank you.
Well, all right. Councilman Tracus, he had to get that off of his chest. Yeah,
It's not
obviously those are the reasons why those council members voted against it. I did want to play this clip again, showing the different viewpoints as to why people how they voted for this. So this last clip, this is Councilman Hancock as he talks about why he voted in favor of this bill.
I voted in favor of this bill simply because of the testimony we heard last week during the Council Committee of the Whole meeting. I think we heard that a lot of these businesses that are unable to sell their license or sell their businesses because the license won't transfer. In many cases, it's not because they were built next to a school, it's because the school was built next to them. And in my view, the door that controls that swings both ways. If the Planning Commission is not going to allow a business that sells tobacco products within 1,000 feet of a school, then it seems to me that we should be looking at legislation that prohibits the building of a school within 1,000 feet of a place that sells tobacco products. As I said, the door should swing both ways. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So again, this bill to me, it is a really, really good example of some of the conversations that have been had by the county council when we're looking at that balancing act, right, between business interests and public health. So as you heard in the beginning, Councilwoman Webb, she said this isn't it, right? This isn't the end, and how she's looking for personally. So working with the health department, working with the planning folks and everyone else to make sure that these businesses are supported, right? And that they're also held accountable when we're talking about some of this enforcement and the communications that seem to get lost a bit between St. Louis County and these municipalities when we're talking about some of these requirements. So y'all, to be continued on this topic, to be continued. And I would also love to hear people's thoughts on how they felt about that bill being passed. So like I said, it was a lot. It was a lot of juiciness and sauciness going on, all right, with the St. Louis County Council last week. So the next highlight we're going to talk about, and again, I done talked about this bill up and down for the past several weeks, Board Bill number 86. Now, this bill, the County Council discussed last week, it was up for final passage, that addresses public safety concerning pedestrians. Now, the last thing that we heard from Councilman Tracus before last week was that he was going to have a substitute bill together for the county council to vote up or down, because he really took a step back and a pause because he heard from various groups that people wasn't checking for this bill, right? So let's listen to Councilman Tracus as he kicks off this conversation around his board bill, Bill 86.
As we all know, this bill seeks to establish a completely neutral, I'm going to say that again, completely neutral ordinance that will address legitimate, prevalent, and ongoing safety concerns facing county residents walking on and or crossing and motorists driving on roadways in St. Louis County. These concerns are real. Too often, people on our roads, both walking and driving, are in harm's way. I have a couple of photographs that the clerk's going to put up on the screen for you to see that are representative of these concerns. There you go. Now, both of those were taken in the last few weeks. One's a person lying in the roadway. The other is a rear end collision that occurred because the car in the front had to stop short because of a person crossing outside of a crosswalk on a county road. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. These photos show the results of our failure to act. It is this body's responsibility to do something about this. Last week, I indicated that, working with the counselor's office, we would consider all stated concerns and craft a sub-bill. Those concerns were from residents of subdivisions who wanted their streets exempted, the disabled community, bicyclists, runners, and others. While I appreciate and I'm grateful for people engaging in their government, after extensive research and on the part of the counselor's office, and I thank specifically Maggie Brummund and Mickey Wachner, considering their analysis, I have been advised, and I believe any exceptions for specific interest groups, whether it's subdivisions or bicyclists, compromise and the ordinance's eventual neutrality. Why is that important? Because when this ordinance, if it passes, is challenged, it has to be neutral, meaning that this ordinance, like other laws, must apply to all without preference or prejudice. It must neither favor nor target any person. As written, the legislation is completely neutral, and if passed, will apply to all of us equally without exception. It's past time for this body to act to effectively make our streets and roadways safer for the pedestrian and the motor vehicle driver alike. Let's do our job. With that, Madam Chair, I move for the final passage of Bill number 86.
Man, I'm telling you, like, if I was playing a drinking game, if we were playing a drinking game, for every time we heard the word neutral or neutrality, just in that clip, you know, we'd be lit by now. I'm sure we would be lit. But I digress. I'm sorry, y'all. I digress. So, obviously, Councilman Trachis, he's ready to go, right? Vote this mug up or down. And this kicked off discussion among the council members, because that's what they do. They discuss the bills that come before them. And Councilwoman Clancy was like, for me, it's a hard no, because she expressed that she ain't checking for it since she feels like it prohibits people from walking in the street. So check out this exchange between Councilman Trachis and Councilwoman Clancy regarding their feelings on this.
Ms. Clancy, nothing stops a person from walking on the street if there's no sidewalk. They say all they have to do is be in the designated area furthest from traffic and walking towards oncoming traffic. So the idea that you can't walk on the street isn't accurate. I'm confident, as written, this bill will survive any court challenge. It doesn't discriminate against anyone. It simply makes the roads safer for both motorists and people that have to use the roadway to walk on it. So there's no putting this off. We have a problem. We need to deal with it as a legislative body. I've moved the bill for final passage. It's been seconded, I believe. Madam Chair, can we proceed to a vote?
I have a follow-up question, Madam Chair.
We have other discussion, sir. Anyone, Councilman, you want to follow up? But
Yeah.
Councilman Harder had one too.
What is the designated area?
The furthest from traffic. So if you're on the shoulder, you need to be as close to the side of the road as possible. You can stand there, you can walk there as long as it's towards oncoming traffic.
So how do I, if it's not towards oncoming traffic, how do I cross the street to get there if there is not a
You have to do
crosswalk?
it in the safest manner possible, madam.
Isn't that subjective?
No, it isn't.
How do you define what the safest manner is possible?
By looking for a crosswalk, and if one doesn't present itself, find the safest possible place to do so. I'm not going to get into tit for tat or this debate with you. The simple fact of the matter is we have dangerous conditions that are existing on our roadways. We have a responsibility as a legislative body to do everything we can to address it. This bill does that in a completely neutral way and fair way. It targets no one. And the idea that it's targeted against panhandling is just not accurate. They're not singled out in any way, shape, or form. No interest group is targeted or preferred here. I studied that specifically in response to the issues that were raised 2 weeks ago. This is a fair bill. It will be enforced when it's enforced equitably and towards everyone the same. No one group is targeted or exempted.
There's a lot there, y'all. There's a lot there. Neutrality, fairly, equitably enforced, and then that exchange between him and Councilwoman Clancy when she was like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And he's just like, "Just look for a crosswalk, girl. And if you can't find one, then you'll figure it out. Whatever's the safest thing, whatever's the safest way to go." I know. So there was a little bit more discussion after that exchange. I'm just giving y'all the information, y'all. I'm just giving y'all the information. So after that exchange happened, then the final vote went down. And I want to play this clip just for the people to kind of get a sense of how the final vote went down.
Councilmember Hancock.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
No.
Councilmember Dunaway.
No.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Councilmember Days.
No.
Councilmember Webb.
This bill isn't perfect, but I see with my own eyes how those have been ended up being fatally killed because we don't have adequate sidewalks, we don't have adequate whatever the case may be, but to allow people to continue to be subject for victims, I think we need to do something. I really do. We need to be able to tell people to know that it's not okay to be standing in the street. It's not okay to have your children in these streets, because what we're talking about now, as Councilman Hancock just said, is to be preventive. That's how I see this in full transparency, everybody. It's to be preventive, to keep another fatality from happening. So with that, I vote aye.
Madam Chair, on bill number 86, there are 4 ayes and 3 noes.
Bill number 86 finally passed.
So there you have it. On a 4-3 split, Councilwoman Webb, she was the deciding vote with the final passage of Board Bill 86. Again, would love to hear people's thoughts out there on the internet about how you feel about this bill being finally passed. So we're going to keep it moving. This is the last highlight from St. Louis County. And we still got stuff to talk about on the city side. But I don't usually talk about resolutions because resolutions are not board bills, right? They're not laws, right? But I had to talk about this one because they talking about the city. So Councilman Hancock introduced a resolution which kicked off a very interesting discussion. And his resolution would require the prosecuting attorney to get approval from the county council before using any county coins to support the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office, and that any such assistance, any coins that St. Louis County provides to the city Circuit Attorney's Office must be reimbursed to the county, y'all. They ain't playing. So I want to play this clip. So this is a bit of an exchange, kind of, sort of, between Councilwoman Dunaway and then Councilman Hancock. He kind of follows up with his response, I guess, to Councilwoman Dunaway's thoughts on his resolution. So take a listen, y'all.
Some of us were in a meeting earlier today where we talked about how our region is declining. People don't want to live here. People don't want to move here. And part of that is, I think, because we are terrible neighbors. Since I joined the council almost 4 years ago, time after time after time, I've heard, just let the city burn. Not in those exact words, but that's the sentiment. What it seems like my colleagues don't understand is that if the city burns, the county burns too. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the city of St. Louis. And the neighborly thing to do would be to support our neighbor in their time of need. The crime that's plaguing the city is creeping and has been creeping into the county for some time. We need to have a regional response, and this is mine, yours is yours, stay out of our way. I just feel so petty and mean, and I can't believe that in the time of need that the city has with its prosecuting attorney's office right now, our reaction is, show us the money. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dunaway. Any other, Councilman Hancock?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, actually, in response to Councilwoman Dunaway's comments, I don't think anybody's ever heard me say to let the city burn. I prefer to use the example that someone who was in the Navy taught me, was that if your ship is sinking, you swim as far away and as fast as you can, or you get sucked under with it. I don't want to see that happen to St. Louis County. I don't want to see it happen to St. Charles County or any other of the counties in the region. However, I was listening to a statement made yesterday by Darlene Green, who's the Comptroller of the city of St. Louis, who said that contrary to our own financial position, the city's financial position is very strong. They have significant balances in all of their reserve accounts. They have significant amounts of money left over from the COVID funds, from the RAM settlement. We're looking at a deficit that's rapidly approaching $50 million. All this resolution does is to ask the county prosecutor that if in fact he's asked to participate in this effort, that he simply keeps good records so we can get reimbursed for the money that the county taxpayers are spending on an office that over the last 6 years has single-handedly been about as anti-crime or as pro-crime as a prosecutor's office can be. So I think we would be doing our fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of St. Louis County to make sure that we're being reimbursed properly for any funds that are expended. This is no comment about we shouldn't be helping them out. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing that. All this is saying, let's make sure that our taxpayers' funds are taken care of. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm a city resident, but I'm like, damn, bro, really? Like you ain't say burn St. Louis City, burn, but damn, you compared us to a sinking ship. That's how you feel? That's how you really feel? Well, alrighty then. I mean, I didn't understand why that was necessary to say, but hey, I guess that is how Councilman Hancock, that's what he wanted to say. So we are gonna keep it moving. So many thoughts, but we are going to keep it moving because again, I kind of want people to hear some of the other council members' expressions and their thoughts about the resolution. Like I said, this kicked off a very interesting discussion. So next up on the flow, we have a clip from Councilwoman Days.
And I'm troubled with this resolution, and I will also add that as we begin to talk about what's going on with the city of St. Louis, it seems to be there's been a major pile on for the circuit attorney's office in the city of St. Louis. And while she resigned early, there still seems to be some, I think the analogy of pushing the knife in and turning it, if you will. We continue to talk about crime being a regional issue. Tomorrow we will be having a crime summit, which will include all of us. It will include some people from St. Charles and Jefferson and Franklin counties and St. Clair County, because it is all of us wrapped in here together. And so I think with this resolution, it's just a perception of what is articulated here that I'm having major concerns with. Sure, we want to make sure that we are good stewards of our money, absolutely that. And we have not necessarily even come to the conclusion there will be money spent there. We don't know that. And so I think that to the extent that we can offer a helping hand, we're not going to go bankrupt because we're doing that. But I think to the extent that we can, or we should do something along these lines, we're not even sure that if we'll, with her resigning early, if this will even be in place. So I think that it's incumbent upon us to kind of step back a couple of steps and look at this holistically, look at our region holistically. We continue to talk about that. We continue to talk about better together. We want to join with the city of St. Louis. We want to do what we are connecting with libraries and other things that we have done. And so I think that we should be really, really very careful in how we couch this conversation. So thank you, Madam Chair.
So that was one angle. And then this is another angle. This is Councilman Harder. So let's hear what he had to say.
Yes, I support Councilman Hancock's effort here. I think it probably doesn't go far enough. We don't hear any mention of what St. Charles is going to contribute, what Jefferson County is going to contribute, and others in our side of the river. If we're in this together, then we're in this together. But for St. Louis County to take on the full load, if that's where it goes, nobody has talked to us about a budget for this. Nobody's talked about how many of our attorneys are going to go to the city to help. I mean, this is a long-term issue. This isn't send somebody down for 2 weeks and then they all come back and everybody's happy. This is a long-term process. They've got probably 40 or 50 attorneys still to hire down there, and that's going to take a long time. And for us to pick up the workload, I don't think we've seen a full plan here. And I guess that's my concern, is that it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to what happened today. And I think we need to see more evidence of what this is going to look like and what it's going to cost us as a county and as a region to get this situation under control. So I honor his Councilman Hancock's effort here. Like I said, I don't think it goes far enough, but I will support this. At least this is what we got on the table today. Thank you.
So y'all heard those different viewpoints. So what was the final verdict when the vote went down? So when the vote went down, the resolution, it failed, y'all. It failed to pass. And the vote, it was among party lines with the Democrats. So council members Webb, Days, Dunaway, and Clancy, the ladies, ended up voting against the resolution. And the Republican crew, Councilmen Hancock, Harder, and Tracus, the fellas, they voted in favor of that. So 4-3, the resolution failed to pass. But again, I have a feeling that this will not be the last that we hear of this topic. I did want to circle back to the previous 2 bills that I spoke of that were passed by the county council. That may not be the end all be all, meaning that the next phase of the bill, it heads to the county executive for him to sign off on it or not. He has veto power. So if he ain't feeling the bills, he can return them jokers and say, this is trash. I'm not signing this into law. So again, to be continued on all of these important topics. So y'all, I love my county folks, but we're gonna head on over and transition to talk about the highlights from the city of St. Louis last week. Baby, budget season is in full swing. It is in full swing. Their committee, what is their new committee called? The Budget and Public Employees Committee. They have been meeting every day, y'all, at 9:30 a.m. to get these hearings done, to listen to each of these departments, to get a better understanding of what their budgets are giving, what their budgets ain't giving, and to get a clearer picture as to the needs and challenges of each of the departments. So I ain't gonna lie, Y'all, I be struggling to keep up. I be listening to these meetings, but when you hear all these numbers and stuff, and I'm having issues trying to follow along because I don't know what the hell these people looking at when they talking to these department heads. So I kind of zoned out a little bit, but I will say that I have still been listening. So, like I said, it's been hella hearings. Last week, we had the police department, excise, streets. We had the health department. I mean, we had quite a few departments, and across the board, there were concerns around staffing and capacity, right? And another concern, this new accounting system that has rolled out throughout the city of St. Louis is called Oracle. And I think it rolled out maybe a year ago. So this accounting software system is giving everybody grief throughout the city of St. Louis. Now, the Comptroller's office also presented their budget as well to the Budget and Public Employees Committee. And so I wanted to play a couple clips. This first clip, Comptroller Green discusses the system and its challenges, especially when we're talking about paying people through payroll.
Do have, as the director or Paul Payne just mentioned, a new accounting system, Oracle, and we're experiencing quite a few snafus, I'll call them, and it's troubling throughout the city. And we, as the Comptroller's office, are stepping in where we can to be an assist. The actual choice of the new accounting system, as you know, was the previous administration. And with that, we are working very hard to lift up what we found to be some of the issues. And, we dove right in to try to pull that up. So that the reason I mentioned that is because we may see a time where more finances are needed to help with some of the issues that we're finding. We have online just in 1 month ago, the payroll module. And I understand there's quite a few problems with payroll issues, employee payroll issues. So I encourage you all to look at your paychecks every 2 weeks so that you can make sure that you're reporting to us any kinds of things that you're finding that's not correct.
Y'all better be looking at them subs. Shoot, I know I be. Shoot. But anyway, we're gonna continue moving along. During the meeting, Alderwoman Boyd, she had a question. She asked Comptroller Green about other challenges with this new accounting system.
But I guess my question I'm asking, because I heard about the payroll, so are you all having any other hiccups when it comes to the contractors in regards to them being paid?
We have had accounts payable problems as well. That was implemented a year ago, March, and throughout the whole year, there's been one problem after another, and we've corrected as much as we've seen that needs to be corrected. The largest thing that we're undertaking right now is to reconfigure the contract module as it relates to the procurement module. We had some of these, big time consultants that consulted us and then we ended up with something that didn't match well with our operations. Now we're trying to revamp. We've got a couple of other consultants that reviewed what the ones from the former administration, and those consultants said our configuration for the contract module was not correct.
Okay.
And so we reconfiguring that, and we're on it. And every single day we're on point to try to prove it. Every single day trying to improve it. So yes, we've had outside vendors say, they didn't get their payment in a timely manner and things like that over this last year when we did the implementation, of course. And then, of course, the court was so outraged. The judges sued us. And so now right now, looking at a settlement because they understand it has to do with the new system, the Oracle system. And so they, were understanding as far as long as they could, and then they sued us so that we could get the message that fix it. So we're fixing it. And once again, it was a choice of the former administration in terms of how it's configured and from the consultants. If we told them that we wanted it a certain way, the consultants knew better, then they would have told us, right? Okay, so that's what we're faced with. And we did have a couple of reviews by one consultant was KPMG. They came in, they said, oh, gee, this is kind of wacky, but you need to fix it. And then another Armanino came in and told us the same thing independently. So you have two outside consultants looking in at whatever this other consultant is telling you. And they're both saying the same thing, that we were sold something that was kind of wacky. And so we're fixing it.
Damn, it sounds like the city of St. Louis got scammed. Whoever sold them this system and configured it, because you heard from not one but two different consultants saying that this is trash. What is y'all doing? And then we got sued as a city because we wasn't paying people on time. That is a damn shame. Now, I'm gonna continue ahead with the last clip, y'all. Because Comptroller Green, she's mentioning, even though she is providing and speaking to the challenges in the implementation of this new accounting software, they're working on some solutions. So I did want to share one of the solutions when it specifically involves increasing their support staff. So I wanted to play that clip.
But I guess my question.
Sorry, y'all. I lied. This is the clip.
What we have actually is a reduction in one part and an increase in another part. And going to the increase is monitors. Monitors is something that we learned that we needed. And I think some of that was going to be in our budget and then in the budgets where the monitors are going to go in terms of the cost.
Okay.
We used to have monitors until HUD came in back in 2015, I believe it was, and did a study, citywide study. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had monitors, and HUD said we should not have monitors. What the importance of monitors are is they monitor the grant activity in the department, the subrecipients, to make sure all the federal regulations are followed. And that's very important because you get these turnovers, but if you got a monitor, which is a steady person who understands federal regs and the grants and how they're followed and the ins and the outs, that gives some stability to a department like the health department or the police department, who depends heavily on federal grants. They've got someone from the Comptroller's office that's right there and saying, okay, here's how this grant should be funded, or here's how this payment should go, and here are the regulations that is followed, no matter who the employee is, with the turnover of a public employee. So
Right.
That's very important. So we're re-implementing monitors.
So you heard one of the solutions that the Comptroller's office will be employing are the revamping, I guess, of these monitors. So again, why am I showing y'all this clip? Why should we give a damn? Well, we should give a damn about this, y'all, because at a bare minimum, when we talking about our city services, the delivery of our city services, we have to talk about, again, the coins, the dollars, right? How that money gets to where it's supposed to go. And it has to get to where it's supposed to go in a timely manner. I mean, y'all know how this works in your own lives. You don't pay folks. People come calling and a knocking, and then that messes with your credit score and all other things, right? And other opportunities. So if our city is dealing with those kind of issues, that ain't a good thing. So when we're talking about, again, the quality of services that we receive from our city and some of its core functions, if our city's core functions ain't hitting, ain't coming correct, then obviously the delivery of those services are going to be impacted as well. So I wanted to lift that up because I've seen a lot of things on the news sharing some other information that some of the department heads have been sharing. I'm not sure if people have been speaking about this, but I just wanted people to be aware, to know, like, yo, this is really impacting the quality of services that we receive in our city. So moving along to the next highlight. So there is a bill discussed, I believe it's board bill number 6, resulting from, we approved this. I don't know if y'all remember last April, we approved this, allocating $50 million in bonds to support various infrastructure improvements. So again, we approved this last year. And so this board bill that was also brought before the Budget and Public Employees Committee last week was brought to them in actual bill form. So I'm gonna play a clip. Mr. Salisbury, who serves as an attorney from a firm working with the city on this, he breaks down how these bonds will be spent when it comes to addressing our city's infrastructure and capital improvement needs.
These bonds were authorized by a vote of the electorate, ordinance number 71445 back in April of 2022. That vote authorized the issuance of bonds that would finance 6 items. First, the improvement, resurfacing, repaving, and repairing of streets in the city. Secondly, designing and coordinating public safety facilities. Third, designing and constructing pedestrian and bicycle transportation facilities. 4, maintaining and improving the safety and security of correctional facilities and improving public safety. 5, providing local matching funds for such items as roadways and bridges. And 6, replacing, improving, renovating, and maintaining buildings, bridges, and equipment of the city, such as neighborhood recreational centers and firehouses. And lastly, paying the cost of issuing the bonds that will produce the associated funds. Now, the general obligation bonds that we are talking about here will be payable by from ad valorem taxes that are associated with the real estate in the city. And what we've done here is to structure the transaction in such a fashion to where the current levy against property will be maintained at a consistent level so that taxpayers will not have to pay additional funds. But at the same time, we maintain that level so that there is flexibility on the part of the city to serve its and to finance its basic needs like the ones I alluded to.
So y'all heard it. Folks' taxes ain't increasing, but those bonds will go towards, again, what Mr. Salisbury laid out, which are some serious needs that we know our city got when it comes to improving not only our infrastructure, but also our recreation.
These bonds
too. So the next clip I'm gonna play is there are proposed changes made to this bill. So listen to what those proposed changes are.
Basically, we had originally thought about authorizing $50 million to coincide with the voter authorization. But since we've only identified at this point approximately $21 million of projects, we instead reduced that down to 23 so that once we identify additional projects, we will come back to this body and the Board of Aldermen to identify those projects and to move forward with an additional bond issue when that becomes appropriate. The board bill amendment also includes an exhibit which sets forth all of those projects that we've been talking about. We also built in a small cushion to make sure that the estimates that we have for these projects is appropriate. And then what we're going to do is come back to this body and the Board of Aldermen with subsequent issues of bonds to provide for the issuance of additional bonds that will provide funds for additional projects. So we appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you and to give you the legal analysis and the legal background. And I'd like to turn it.
So y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. So again, the voters, we approved the $50 million. However, they identified $20 million in projects that needed these coins. And so the ask is going from $50 million to $23 million. And again, y'all heard Mr. Salisbury. He said, hey, once more projects are identified, because it's way more projects, I'm sure, than $21 million when we're talking about infrastructure and capital improvement projects in our city. But he said once they identify more of these projects, then obviously, they'll come back before the Board of Aldermen to say, yo, we need more coins.
Basically.
So again, they keep talking about these projects, and Mr. Salisbury provided an overview, like a general overview of what those projects entail. However, I'm gonna play this clip. This is Rich Bradley. He is the president of the Board of Public Service. So listen to him as he provides a summary of what these projects really are.
So just generally to go through some of the categories, with the street department, we have some traffic management enhancements projects in bridges. We have, these are grant funded projects. These are east-west gateway projects where if we put 20% local match share up, 80% is provided by the federal government. So these are very, very good projects because we get a lot of work completed for the dollars that we put into it. For example, the traffic management enhancement project, which is a congestion mitigation air quality project and ties our traffic signals together. We have a series of those and we have more to come. The bridge projects, Compton and the Linville projects, those are critical projects. We have grants for those already and they are underway in design and right-of-way acquisition. So we're asking for the local match shares to be established there so that we can actually construct those bridges. And just to give you a couple of highlights, the Compton Avenue Bridge is 58 years old. The bridge, Lindo Union over Forest Park Parkway is 61 years old. The bridge over Lindo Metrolink is 90 years old. And so what that tells you is the useful life of a bridge being about 30 years. We have extended these and extended these and extended these. And so we need to do them. And now is the time while we have the opportunity. The bridge repairs, just generally, these are things that we haven't otherwise had funding for in the past to do. And so now we have had some funding to put into a very good bridge maintenance program. This continues to keep those bridges up to speed and get way more than their useful life out of them. Under Parks and Recreation, we had a pool renovation project. There was originally $7 million in pool renovations. $1 million was in a previous board bill. And so we're slowly but surely working on pool renovations in order to get those critical needs up to speed. Fire department vehicles and equipment. You will notice that in Board Bill 184 that we had a whole complement of public safety vehicles for the fire department. Those vehicles were put out to bid. They came back in. They are extremely expensive. And so they were over budget. And this item here, what it allows us to do is it allows us to make up the difference from Board Bill 184 and purchase the full complement of those vehicles. And then just further on down, we have some building repairs and they are entitled miscellaneous building repairs. This is very, very critical because there are things that happen every single day. HVAC, electrical, mechanical things fail, roofs fail, they leak. Then we need to address those in order to conduct business and for safety of the folks who utilize our buildings. Over the past course of the year, we spent over $1 million in miscellaneous building repairs. And so this amount of building repair funding will be utilized to keep us going daily. That's the general summary.
All right, so he gave y'all the general summary of these projects. Now, after he gave his summary, Alderwoman Boyd, she had some questions, y'all, about these projects and how many of them were in a specific part of the city, So listen to this.
Because I'm looking at all the projection, the projects you all are looking at. And so I'm just trying to get some clarity. When you said phase 5, so the phase 1 through 4, is any of that in North St. Louis? Because I'm seeing Newstead, Pendleton, Sarah, but where the 4 or 1 through 4, is any of that North St. Louis, any traffic management enhancement?
They're already completed.
Okay.
And underway. They're done. And phase 5 is currently in the design phase, and phase 6 is currently in the planning phase. So we will continue to do these as they come along. Again, it ties our signals together so that, you know, things work in conjunction, so that lights function together. People don't spend time idling when they don't need to idle. Pedestrian friendly, complete street friendly, all the things involved.
So this is through the Eastway Gateway piece, the streets and the traffic management?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they have.
And so you're telling me they're all done. So I guess I'm just kind of confused. And me and you've had this conversation before, because, you know, I keep hearing that the projects in the North Quarter are already allocated, we're gonna get them, but I never see it because people keep prolonging and say, well, it's not time, or you're not gonna get it yet. And so now I'm hearing, even though these probably will be approved, so what will be the time frame on when these projects will be done?
So this particular traffic management enhancement, the design is scheduled to begin in late 23, and we would go to construction in 25. So we have about 18 months worth of design time to do it once we get that grant.
So you saying that when it's 18 months for the design and all that, then they'll start the project? So you know where I'm going, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the North Quarter project for Goodfellow, all that work was done, but the project wasn't done.
Correct.
Okay.
The grant's accepted, the study was completed, the design is almost completed, and that one will go to construction in late summer, as we've discussed. So you're ready to go to construction. This one has not even started in design yet.
So the construction in that project will start when?
Your project in late August.
Of
Late
this
summer.
year,
This year.
2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And this conversation, this exchange about specific projects happening in North City continued with Alderwoman Boyd and Rich Bradley.
And then with the bridges, and so I guess my question, we don't have bridges that need work done in our areas in the North Quarter?
So there are 74 bridges around the city, and the vast majority of them are central core and south, but there are some north. There is a bridge on Hamilton that we're currently working on. It's out of a different pot of money, so a different funding source. There are a couple other bridges that are that way as well, but if you looked at the major repairs, a number of those are being taken care of under repair items. It all depends on when the bridge was built by the grant and how long we can extend the life of it.
Okay, and I did attend the Capital Committee meeting. We talked about the bridges, and so I did bring concern about coming to the North Quarter Port. And so on the pool renovations, how many recreation centers do we have pools that have to be renovated?
So I believe there are 7.
Okay.
And that's why it was $7 million originally. And there was $1 million in Board Bill 184. And this funds another $1 million. So we continue to move along with it. Now, I will say that I would have to ask Kim Hagley for clarification and Director Hayes. I don't believe that they are putting $1 million in each one at a time. I believe what they're doing is they're spreading that out amongst all the pools and the critical needs until they get all the critical needs taken care of.
Okay. All right.
So y'all done heard it. Y'all done heard it. The proposed changes to Board Bill number 6, as well as some of the specific projects that are slated to happen on the north side. So what was the final verdict? The Budget and Public Committees Committee, the Budget and Public Employees Committee, passed Bill number 6 with those proposed changes, and it will head to the full Board of Aldermen for its consideration to be finally passed.
And then
And the last thing I wanted to lift up, I know I told y'all it was hella stuff that happened, y'all, last week. A lot of things going on. So I did want to lift up some changes within a city division as well as an office. So first and foremost, Matthew Brummund resigned as commissioner of the Division of Civilian Oversight. Now I remember when I saw this, when I had heard that it had happened, I was like, wait, dude was on one of the budget hearings. Like, I want to say the day before he submitted his letter of resignation. I was like, damn, bro. So for people that aren't aware, the Division of Civilian Oversight was created last summer through legislation that was introduced by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. And this division, the purpose of it is to investigate complaints regarding the jail as well as police misconduct. Now, Mr. Brummund, he reported that his resignation was due to transparency and access issues, which apparently have been well documented. It's been a lot talking when it comes to investigating jail complaints and folks not having access and things not being transparent. And he said completely the reason why he resigned was because it was just a hot ass mess sandwich with that. So he's resigned. And, we'll see kind of what happens because there are 2 different boards that are specific to investigating jail and police complaints. So, we shall see what happens there. And again, it was wild because I literally saw dude talking about the division's budget the day before he announced his resignation. So there you have it. And then also, everybody named Mama, I'm sure by now knows that Gabe Gore has been appointed by Governor Parson to serve as circuit attorney. I know he's going to be finishing out Kim Gardner's term, which I believe comes up for election next year, I believe. So we'll see what happens with that. So that is all, child. That is all that I have to share as far as what happened in St. Louis County, as well as what happened in St. Louis City last week. Transform 314, we is out here in these streets, y'all. So on Wednesday, we have an event at the Sumner High School in their annex building. Wednesday, from 6 to 7:30 p.m., we will have our community meetup, and the topic of discussion, what do our elected officials really do? So obviously, yes, we need to hold folks accountable, especially our older people, but we can't hold people accountable if we don't really know what their job is. So that's the point of this meetup, is for us to really have that better understanding so we can figure out how we can work collectively for the improvement of our communities. I'm be feeding folks. Please roll through again Wednesday in 2 days at 6 p.m. at the Sumner High School, the annex building. Be sure to register via Eventbrite because we're feeding people, and I probably got some goodies for people that roll through. So definitely do that. And then the following day, the next day, Thursday, May 25th, you know how we do. Me, the homie Vanna, and AP Divine, aka Alan Perkins. We will have our monthly Kicking It for a Cause event at Exodus Gallery again Thursday, May 25th. Doors open at 6 p.m. We will be talking about what we're going to do about gun violence in our region. I'm really excited because we will have some folks in the building to speak to what resources and what efforts are currently being implemented to address this serious issue. So register on Eventbrite for that. Please, because that's going to be a really great conversation. And then last thing I want people to know, your girl Kelly, I am taking a break, okay? I am not going to be doing this next Monday because of the holiday. However, the following Monday, on June 5th, we will have in the virtual space, in the virtual building, the City of St. Louis's treasurer, Adam Lane. So he will be joining us to speak to, what his office, like, what do these folks really do? What does he really do? And also speak to, again, his role and his office's role when we're talking about making sure that our city is up to snuff, and residents when it comes to all financial related things. So, yeah, y'all. That is all that I have for y'all this week. Please stay safe out there. Enjoy your Memorial Day holiday, and I'll see y'all on June 5th. Until then, peace.